Hi, everybody. It is February 4, 2024. This is just a quick shot of me, but I don't think I'm going to be visible tonight. I am rather tired. I'm going to try the best I can. And that's all I can do, right? Yeah. So, Linty London, Steve Ladner, analog synth player, John Stuart Mill, Andrew Cruz, Rage Against the Machine, hello. And I wish I could do 4 hours. I'm going to try and do 2 hours, but I might not be able to. Sherry Hughes, hello, thank you very, very much. Barb in Ohio, Phil Strange, Justin Wynn, and Captain Rankin. Marty Lauderdale, hello, thank you. Wonder why. Ain't buying it. Hey, ain't buying it. Michael Scott Carpenter. Silent Walk. Patricia White. Julie. Hypocrites Matrix. Marcel. Trace. Rick Yorkin. Laura Florison. Space Indian. Super Painting 62. Hi. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Well, I was kind of busy today and came back late, only to find tornadoes in Texas, tornadoes in Georgia, tornadoes in Florida. I don't know what the scale of destruction was, but isn't it odd that we're having so many tornadoes at this time of year? And the atmospheric river looks odd. It looks kind of odd. It looks very strange, very weird, kind of looks like a precipitation weapon. And wow, it does not want to go right smack into this area where my arrow is. Look at these extremely low frequencies. You can see the cutout, the long defined line here in Nevada, again, down here in Southern California. But wow. Okay, they're calling for flooding. I don't know if the flooding has begun, but look at this now. Isn't that interesting? I think the images changed. So this is what it looked like just 10 minutes ago. No, this is what it looked like at 4:51 a.m. this morning. And I saw, whoa, look at these supercells generated here in the Gulf. This was the atmospheric river earlier this morning, 4:51 a.m. And, well, this line of precipitation here from, well, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Tennessee. It is, let's take a look at that. Wow. Well, it moved through Florida, but we still have supercells that are being generated. But really? This is Mother Nature? No, it is not Mother Nature. Okay? Not, no, nah, no, not. This is at this is at 7 a.m. And look how nicely defined is this over here. The supercells are getting closer to Florida. A whole train of supercells. This was at 416. Look at how magnificent is the definition of this storm, this weather front. Really? Okay, so I guess it moved through Florida, but what do we got here? Is it like the Daytona area of Florida? Because that does not look good. That looks like perhaps tornado material. So that was at 416, and this here, it's still mighty defined. This is not Mother Nature. This is manufactured by man. And look at these supercells going through Georgia here. Still have this one down. You guys have to help me out, but I do think that that's Daytona area of Florida. And is this Orlando? Right here? These supercells do not look nice. So, people are on it. A whole lot of mass destruction is what you are looking at. I can't believe. Look at this, man. Wow. So, yeah, I mean, the big jackboot, the big J. Look how defined it is as well. A whole lot of rain up here in Northern California. So they are calling for flash flooding in Southern California. Does not look good. Does not look good. Not at all. And here, this, starting at 10:30 a.m. this morning, this is the atmospheric river. This is the plume. You like that plume? Oh, it looks like the atmospheric river. Really? Strings of it. Just strings. Look at this. With a vein in the middle. And yeah, flexing its muscle, the right angled manufactured shape. That is not Mother Nature. So this is at 11:30, and oh God, I really hate this. But look at this cloud. All of this cloud. I mean, why is this not loading properly? 11:30 a.m., 12:30 p.m., coming into California. Getting it into the hurricane shape, which is kind of odd, but hey, I like that defined cutout caused by frequencies. Look at all of the ripples, the microwaves, the nanotechnology, the nanobots. Wow. 3:30 and 4:30 p.m. Still, nice cutout. Oh boy, what are we going to find later on tonight, tomorrow morning? This is amazing. Yeah. Wow. Something's happening down here in Georgia. Does not look good. Something's happening here. Daytona area. Orlando area doesn't look good. Okay, so if any of you are in Florida, if any of you are in Georgia, if any of you are in California, drop a comment. Let us know. How you doing? Okay, well, so here, Valdosta, Georgia, tornado. There was some damage, but this apparently just happened this afternoon. I did check for any mainstream media reports on YouTube and couldn't find any. But that looks like a very big tornado, manufactured, of course. And voila. Did it just dissipate? Did they decrease the strength? Horrible photos coming out of Valdosta. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Georgia. Goodbye house. Ah. Yes. If you come over to Twitter and just put in tornado in the search, you will see a whole lot. Tornado, Georgia. This apparently in Texas, northeast of Hamlin, in the Fort Worth FTW. That doesn't look pretty. This is in Georgia. Wow. How about Metro Miami? This weather is not normal for South Florida in February. What's happening? Crazy. Yeah. Look into what's happening. Clay County, Florida. Incredible up-close tornado. Look at how low and humongous are the clouds. Jacksonville, Florida. Not good. Look at this. Yeah. Oh, black carbon dust, I know, is one ingredient to make the clouds humongous. And they're very low. Indeed. Georgia. Yeah, in Georgia. Well, power outages in California. 500,000. Close to yeah, just over 500,000. Look at this. That's a lot. I came over here because I thought for sure I'd see Georgia or, Florida. There are some power outages, 8,134 in Florida, and Georgia, 4,000, 3,000 and 3,500 in Alabama. Only 101 in South Carolina. Well, I hope it stays that way, but what we're seeing on radar may not be the case. Listen to this. This I came across today. This is, well, government crime, gang crime. Is there a difference?
Weld County, Dylan Thomas covering Colorado First.
Yes. Cultural lifestyle for decades are now being told it's against county code.
People living with livestock, barns, and other rural staples have received warnings that if they don't get rid of it all, they'll face huge fines. It's happening on the eastern edge of Greeley. That city, like many communities in northern Colorado, has seen a boom in development and population growth. Your reporter in northern Colorado, Dylan Thomas, spoke to neighbors in the community who are pushing back. Dylan joins us live tonight from Weld County. And Dylan, some residents even say that because of this issue, they're suddenly facing the possibility of being homeless.
Yeah, Michael, some I spoke with said they moved to this rural part of Weld County seeking the ag life where they could have chickens, horses, cows, goats, and live on their property pretty much to the extent in which they please. But last year, suddenly dozens of them found out they were actually in violation of zoning codes. And it wasn't until then that many realized they don't live in agriculture zoning. They actually live in residential. In a camper in unincorporated eastern Greeley, Bob Walter recently learned he was violating county code.
You got to be kidding me. What code?
The county told him his family's property was zoned residential, making his camper illegal to live in.
It was pretty devastating. They said you have 2 weeks to disconnect it from power, get it ready, road ready, and get out of it. I told him, I said, well, you're going to make me homeless, I got no place to go.
It's the same problem dozens of his neighbors have come across in recent months, most of whom thought it was zoned agriculture.
The eye test, look around, it's ag. Most places have some sort of animals. I mean, there's horses, pigs, goats, mules, llamas, there's everything you can think of out here. Pretty much every place has them.
But under residential code, nearly all of that must go. For Rocky Warda, after 8 years,
not hurting nobody or nothing, then all of a sudden get turned in.
Suddenly, his cars on his property were a problem. They needed to be hidden by a fence.
I'd take a loan out on my house to pay for this. It's $10,000.
Because they're basically coming out here telling people now, your way of life that you've been used to, in some cases generations, it's over.
Weld County is a complaint-driven county.
We just basically let people live their lives until there's a complaint filed. Then we go investigate those claims.
Commissioner Kevin Ross said there are some people who want the properties to reflect residential zoning standards, adding this issue is becoming more common.
It is due to the rapid growth that Weld County's experienced, not just Greeley, but everywhere. We're seeing these types of situations arise more frequently. Well, we stand up for ag here in Weld County.
Ross said the county is now willing to rezone the land, but those in the community need to know the pros and cons of such a change first. Walter says he feels the majority are prepared.
Just change the zoning and leave us alone.
Now, Commissioner Ross does tell us
they want the zoning to be changed back to agriculture. Don't you see how this area really is, well, get rid of your horses, get rid of your goats, get rid of all of the animals, get rid of your RVs, get rid of, he's got all of the cars boxed in, very, very clean. Get rid of it. We'll make you homeless if you don't. We're going to, bill you extraordinary fines if you don't. Look at this. Rural Colorado. And apparently it's complaints. It's complaints from the residential people. Well, Weld County residents who lead an agricultural lifestyle learn their land was designated for housing decades ago. No one told them. The community first became aware of the problem in late 2023 when at least one resident began reporting the property owner to the county for violating zoning ordinances. Don't you love your neighbors? More than 60 violation reports were filed in 2023. There have only been 4 complaints of zoning code violations in the same area in the past 20 years. But something happened to people in 2023. People are mean, cruel, cold. Weld County is a complaint-driven county. That means the county doesn't have code enforcement officers to inspect properties. Instead, you must report the property, which will then be investigated by code enforcement to determine if a citation is required. Wow. Yeah. Do an eye test. Look around. Most places have some sort of animal. There are horses, pigs, goats, mules, sheep, llamas. Almost every place has animals. Rocky Water has lived in his home for nearly 10 years, reportedly had a garbage truck parked in his backyard that needed repairs. I wasn't hurting anyone, I wasn't hurting anything, and then all of a sudden, I had to turn myself in. He spent $10,000 to put up this fence. Unless he was willing to pay a fine or get rid of his car, Water had no choice but to pay for a new fence. I had to take out a loan. Cost $10,000. Walter said he does not fault county code enforcement officers for doing their jobs. Yeah, they're just doing their job. They're destroying you, but they're just doing their job, man. But he said he wanted everyone to be aware of the hardship the sudden imposition of norms was causing for many residents. County code enforcement officials are basically coming out here and telling people this way of life that we've been accustomed to for generations is basically over. Walter gathered over 100 petition signatures and presented to Weld County commissioners. The petition called for the community to be rezoned and made agricultural, allowing most residents to continue living on the property. Why can't they zone it both? As a county, we don't really care if they're agricultural zones or residential zones. We just want to make sure we have all the tools in place to help the county make the best decisions. Ross clarified that the land in question was never zoned for agricultural use, but he said the county is open to rezoning the land if residents are willing to weigh the pros and cons and make their own decisions. Petition has more than 100 signatures, shows that the majority of residents want the rezoning and are willing to pay the dues necessary to make it happen. Shouldn't have to pay dues to make it happen. Rezone and leave us alone. Okay, well, that's quite a taking, huh? Bill to be introduced would increase property taxes on short-term rentals by 4 times the value.
Hear this. A bill to be introduced in the state Senate later this year would increase property taxes on short-term rentals by 4 times the value. Your reporter in the mountains, Spencer Wilson, spoke to the bill's co-sponsor and looks into what it means for tourism-based economies.
The area around this beautiful A-frame home in Summit County, Colorado, has not changed while the family was planning to build and eventually rent out the property for some of the time during the year and then live in it for some of the parts of the year. But the situation with renting has absolutely changed.
And this ladder goes to the 3rd floor, which is...
It's been a dream to build a mountain house, specifically an A-frame, and that's what we've built here. And for us and our family to enjoy it.
Family room.
With the introduction of State Senate Bill 33, short-term rentals would be subject to a new classification for property tax, depending on how often they rent out. The more they rent, the higher their classification and the higher their tax becomes. which for a community with an economy based on tourism could see big changes. But this is not just for the mountains.
So not just mountain towns, but for the entire state of Colorado.
Alpine Edge in Breckenridge manages a lot of short-term rentals for second homeowners. They believe you'll see people stop renting out their properties altogether if the bill passes because it simply will not be profitable for short-term rentals.
There's 24,000 short-term rentals in the state of Colorado. Half of them are here in the county.
He says if short-term rental properties go, Summit County is sunk.
I'm worried that this place will become a ghost town.
You see how every aspect of our lives will be controlled by governance? Colorado church sues town over right to use RVs to shelter homeless.
County, where a church is suing the town of Castle Rock. At the center of the argument, the Rock Church wants to house homeless people in RVs outside the building, but the town says that's not allowed. Olivia Young is your reporter in Douglas County. So Olivia, walk us through this lawsuit.
Is it not to share your food with the hungry and provide the poor homeless with shelter? It's a scripture from Isaiah 58 that the pastor of this church quotes as to why they're suing the town. Castle Rock says their use of RVs to shelter the homeless is a zoning violation, but this church says they're abiding by a higher code.
I couldn't make any money and didn't have a place to go.
When Frederick Krueger's truck broke down in 2022, he found himself homeless and out of work in the middle of winter.
It was kind of a bad scenario.
His savior came in the form of an RV behind the Rock Church.
It's a godsend. It really was.
Since 2019, the church has given shelter to the homeless in 2 RVs on the backside of their property.
To help those that are struggling, and specifically those that really want to get back on their feet.
Working with Douglas County, the church helped feed Fred, fix his truck, and find him a job and home.
Had it not been for them, no one else was going to do anything.
But in 2023, Castle Rock determined the church's use of RVs as temporary shelters to be a zoning violation. The town...
I am so sick of these zoning violations. People are homeless. You have 2 nice RVs. One that I don't even know, it's probably not being used. Get rid of it. Don't help people, you get rid of it. It's a zoning violation. That's how sick our country is. Neighbors on edge after over 15 street takeovers. These street takeovers, that this is being allowed, something's wrong with law enforcement.
Than a dozen street takeovers in LA just last night, and one of those street takeovers ended in gunfire. NBC4's Darsha Phillips joins us live right now from Compton with more on that. Darsha?
Yeah, Colleen, 4 people shot in a street takeover here in Compton. And people who live here in Compton say these street takeovers are becoming more frequent and more violent. This scene and sound is all too familiar for people who live in Compton.
We just hear like the screechy noise of the cars. They just keep going and it'll be for hours.
Stephanie Reyes says this goes on every weekend.
Sometimes we get stuck in traffic waiting for them to finish.
And last night it happened again on Alondra and Central. This time it ended in gunfire.
I feel unsafe just because I live around the corner.
LA County Sheriff says 3 people were shot during this sideshow. A 4th person with gunshot wounds was found at a nearby hospital. Deputies say all of the injured are in stable condition. The shooter or shooters have not been caught.
I mean, I think it's horrible. I mean, you got these youngsters out here, very disrespectful.
The LAPD Street Racing Task Force says there were more than 15 sideshows in Los Angeles just last night.
15 just last night. Disrespectful? I wouldn't call them youngsters. But yeah, disrespectful. And we see this in adults. The disrespect, the inconsiderate behavior that we are seeing, it's frightening because it's only going to get worse. People just don't care about other people. Now, am I talking about you? Do I have to say this again? Okay. The majority. The majority. We wouldn't be living what we're living if people, the majority, cared about other people and lived even something close to natural law. Your behavior, you think about it before you act. In thinking, will it affect other sentient beings, meaning two-legged, four-legged life, in a bad way? Then you don't do it. But that seems to be lost on a lot of people. Okay, here, Joe Biden cruises to a win in South Carolina. Yeah, 96% of the vote in South Carolina. And last night I said, is anybody else running against him? Apparently there are two. Marianne Williamson, who got maybe 1%. Another guy, 1%. Joe Biden gets 96. What a surprise. Oh, good for you, because you're doing such a great job.
South Carolina has once again given Joe Biden its support in this primary election. What this is all about.
4 more years. 4 more years. Are we living parallel realities? Do these people not see what the years that he's been in office? Well, he doesn't do anything. Okay, we all know that. But a whole lot of Americans think that he's the president. Do they not see how destroyed in just the 3 years that he's been president? Do they not see it? How could they not see it? Talk about living in your bubble. Whoa. 4 more years. God. All right. Fake journalist Taylor Lorenz whines about death of corporate media. All right. I'm just going to throw the link in, play a few minutes of this. Yeah. Crazy. People are crazy.
Got a few fans in the audience. Didn't see that coming.
So now Taylor Lorenz is, she's from Millionaires, right? She's from privilege. Her father, go ahead.
Yeah, she went to a $90,000 a year Swiss boarding school. She is from Old Greenwich, Connecticut, which is the old money.
You could tell by the t-shirt.
You're not just attacking her, Jimmy, you're attacking that dog.
So, and her father, am I wrong, or her uncle?
Okay, so this, as somebody did an investigation into her family history, it's
the
not
quartering, right?
What's that?
The quartering, was that the?
Well, the quartering covered it.
Okay.
The person who actually did it has been pulled off Twitter, and Elon did not let him back on. But he did a long thing about how all of these supposedly progressive left journalists, they're these incredibly rich kids, and this is the thing. They are rich enough to get their family history scrubbed from the internet, and particularly Taylor Lorenz. So if you look up Taylor Lorenz, you can't find shit about her.
Yeah.
But according to this, her sister works at CNN. Her family is descended from a powerful politician, and her uncle is in control of the Wayback Machine, or one of the people in control.
The internet's Wayback Machine. Her uncle controls it, which is why you can't find shit. Whenever she deletes a tweet, it's deleted.
It's deleted. It's gone.
Yeah.
You cannot find it in the Wayback Machine.
And she can, so here, let's listen to what she said about journalism. Here's what she had to say.
Our journalism industry is basically in a free fall. Today, the Los Angeles Times laid off 115 employees. They wiped out their entire DC bureau.
And by the way, by journalists, I think she means the usual stenographers to power who wear shaggy t-shirts and can name all three Jonas Brothers.
In an election year. They laid off pretty much all of their sports teams. They killed their entire tech and business section. They laid off breaking news writers, social media editors. The list goes on. But what's really dark is this is just the latest in months and months and months of layoffs in the media industry. In fact, tens of thousands of journalists have been laid off in the past year. Major media companies like BuzzFeed News have completely shuttered their news operations. Time Magazine also just laid off a ton of people, and Sports Illustrated basically shut down last week. Pretty much the entire digital media ecosystem that myself and a lot of other millennial journalists came up in has been completely hollowed out. And it's not just digital media sites. Local news has been...
Yeah, you guys aren't journalists, right? She acts like they're honeybees. Oh my God, we're losing the honeybees. You guys are bullshit. You guys have been, to quote my friend Russ, you guys have been feeding people shit and telling them it's ice cream for the last 30 fucking years, and they don't have any use for you anymore. You're not.
The useful idiots go down. Right? Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Commentary on American journalism. Unfortunately, it's Western journalism, and we know it. Biden administration wants to force foster parents to sign LGBTQ pledge. Really? The Safe and Appropriate Foster Care Replacement Requirements. That's what it's called. Calls for states to ensure that LGBTQ children are placed in environments free from hostility or discrimination. It also requires potential foster parents to undergo training to develop knowledge and skills to support the needs of LGBTQ children. Wow. It sure does look as if, and whether children or adults, that certain groups of children or adults are getting privileged status. So much for equality. Washington State Democrats using ammo, a privilege that needs to be taxed. More taxes. More taxes. An 11% tax on the retail sale of ammunition across the state, in addition to all existing federal, state, and local sale and use taxes, with the exception of sales to governments for the purpose of supplying law enforcement agencies. The proposal it's to help reduce gun violence or deaths involving guns, most of which are suicides. So you put an 11% tax on ammo, and the person who's wanting to kill themselves will say, all right, no, I'll live. Really? The person who wants to kill someone, I'm not paying that 11%. Forget it. Forget about it. I'll turn a leaf. I'll become a good person. Oh, 11% tax. My depression is gone. Forget about it. Jesus. Stupido. Just stupido. Thousands of Swedish protesters surround tax-funded channel SVT, which is a news channel, over its lies and propaganda.
Tillbaka SVT. SVT är vårt!
Speaking of journalism,
Ge en applåd! Fantastic.
yeah, a whole lot came out. to protest the propaganda that they are being fed. And here, stop lying. Good on them. A whole lot coming out. Stop lying. You think you're going to see this on mainstream media in Sweden? Don't think so. But hey, maybe they reach somebody walking along the street that might think about what they're saying in relation to mainstream media. Elon Musk psyop exposed. Fake truthers promoting king of technocracy, brain chips and carbon taxes. Oh, there's still a whole lot. Elon Musk, he's saving our free speech as he censors people on Twitter. He is so establishment. People just love to hear the words they want to hear. They don't really pay attention to any other words, which is pretty remarkable. Words that go against the idea that this man is a savior. Oh my God, there's so many of them. Trump.
Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and it's time to take apart this Elon Musk psyop. And we really need to go into some detail here today as we see Elon call for a carbon tax. Now, this is what he posted on Twitter. He posted a video from Farzad that says Elon Musk's unbelievably simple killer breakdown on climate change, because of course he's still pushing that nonsense while claiming he's pro-human. He says the only action needed to solve climate change is a carbon tax. Now, I don't know if you're in Canada, you already know that this tax on air is around. It's been around in Norway since the early 90s. Of course, he added this: we should not, for example, impose draconian laws on farmers or make citizens uncomfortable by limiting air conditioner usage. Okay, that's obvious. But then he goes on to say, keep tax revenue constant, but shift it to tax what is probably bad, CO2, just like alcohol and cigarettes are taxed more than fruits and vegetables. It sounds a lot like something Bill Gates would say. CO2 is probably bad. No, it's literally plant food. It's what makes things the way they are. You cannot survive as a human without even an increased amount of CO2. And of course, you know, you have trees, these carbon capture devices that people like Bill Gates wants to bury. They want to put huge machinery everywhere that allegedly pulls in CO2, when at the end of the day, it causes a huge amount of hazards, environmental hazards included, yet they want to bury trees. It's absolutely absurd. Now, I'm not saying
absurd, it's criminal. Those taxes are high. Elon can certainly afford it, but can most people? No. I put the link in. You can listen to this. It's an hour-long video. He breaks down the Elon Musk psyop. Yes. And here, Portuguese patriots take to the streets demanding their government put a stop to the invasion happening across Europe. A whole lot of protests going on. Here, thousands of Swedes are marching to protest taxpayer-funded news channel. Oh boy, and large-scale protests led by farmers in Belgium have blocked highways south of Brussels.
Ouais, mais continuez mon job jusqu'à quand? Jusqu'à quand je vais continuer mon job?
Some tractors were parked moments away from the EU Parliament in Brussels. Okay, well, it's not just in Brussels, Belgium, but Ireland and Germany and Scotland and UK farmers are getting ready. And there's a whole lot. Romania. What are the other countries? Help me, help me. Now, senior BBC employee branded white people a parasitical deviant breed. Ow! Ow, I think that's hate speech. Man. Diversity doesn't include white people. And will she be fired? Maybe because she referred to Jews as Nazi parasites who funded a holo hoax. Japathetic Ashkenazi. She called white people a virus, barbaric and bloodthirsty. Okay. Not all white people, honey. Not all white people are bloodthirsty. Man. UK's Online Safety Act officially grants mainstream media permission to publish lies. Alright, I didn't get a chance to read this. I'm going to put the link in off Guardian. But yeah, Obama did that for us too. Obama. Oh my God. 8 years he was president and scandal-free. Propaganda. Lies. Welcome to the UK, where it's now official government policy that you can't publish misinformation, but The Guardian, the BBC, Disney, Netflix can. Yes, it's true. The recently signed Online Safety Act brands the publication of false information a criminal offense publishable by up to a year, punishable up to a year in prison. Unless you're a mainstream media outlet, then it's totally fine. Lie all you want. Life. Ain't it grand? Section 179 makes it illegal to publish false information with intent to cause harm. How could you possibly prove intent? But not for mainstream media. Isn't that interesting? And yeah, so many horrifying things are happening. And we don't know why?
Being found unconscious in a car on I-95. This happened near the Golden Glades.
Tonight, we're hearing from a close friend of that mother. CBS News Miami's Peter Dent joins us live from North Miami Beach with what that mother had to say. Peter.
Well, Ellie and Lauren, as you mentioned, we just spoke with a close friend of the mother, and she told me she cannot believe what happened. Miami-Dade police say there are a series of unanswered questions.
It was around 2 in the morning when there was a 911 call about a vehicle on the I-95 northbound ramp to the Florida Turnpike in 826.
2 children not breathing on I-95 and the Turnpike. It's northbound.
before the exit, right shoulder. They're on the right shoulder.
That's a lot. That's really sad to know that the kids lost their lives so young.
Suzette Morant is horrified that these 3-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, lost their lives when authorities say they were with this woman, Shirlene Alcine, who Morant and family members say was their mother.
To be honest with you, she's a good mother because I know she has an older son. Our older son is about 16 or 18 years old.
Morant says Alcine was such a good friend that she even co-signed on a loan for her car.
She's been a good mother, and that's the only reason why I got her the car, because I wanted those kids to get around safe and reliable. Now somebody I know will do nothing like that. That's impossible for her. She's not that kind of person, so it's just so mind-boggling right now to figure out what really went wrong.
Miami-Dade police were initially told the children were unresponsive. This silver van was at the center of the investigation.
We're looking for a silver Toyota Highlander.
The female on scene, who was the driver of the vehicle, she was driving the vehicle where these juveniles were located, and that adult female went over the railing to the on-ramp onto the railroad tracks, which is a considerable distance.
The mother was rushed to Aventura Hospital. The 3-year-old twins did not survive. It's not clear how the twins died. The medical examiner will have to determine the cause of their deaths, as the injuries were not obvious.
What is happening to people? Here you have someone who knew her say she was a good mother, she did it. Beautiful twins dead in the car, and she jumps over onto the railroad tracks. What's happening? Are people being driven off the cliff by external forces? All right, I'm going to put the link into this. Whose time is running out? The WHO, the pandemic treaty. May they get to start. I think it's going to go ahead. And that's when it'll be official that we no longer have any sovereignty whatsoever. Official. Because we don't. We haven't for a long time. I can't do insane behavior tonight, so I'm just going to play a few minutes of this. My message to salty normies. I want to thank my subscriber for sending this along. But it's true for, well, virtually anything. But he's talking about specific to, what happened in 2020. Okay. Need to finally take responsibility for their own actions.
We've all made mistakes, haven't we? Right? The difference between us, I guess, is that people respond in different ways when they've made a mistake. Some people take it on the chin personally and they just fess up and then they move on. Other people, they look for scapegoats, or they try to deny that it was their fault that they made a mistake. So what I'm talking about now is the behaviour of norm.
I will put the link in because, well, he says things that YouTube doesn't like. So, yeah, isn't it true? You're an adult if you make a mistake and you take it on the chin and you fess up. You're not an adult by pointing the finger at somebody else, blaming them, scapegoating them, gaslighting them. All of that behavior means that you're not quite right. And yeah, if you see something, say something. This woman right here is telling a story of what she did. But it's interesting that she was doing the right thing, but she was scared that she would suffer the consequences. Let's see if I can play it from here and you'll understand.
To go inside someone's house, but I used my judgment. Just go ahead and put it on the porch.
It's only 3 minutes.
I just want to start this off by saying, if you see something, say something. I did an Instacart order yesterday, and I'm a little emotional right now, but I did an Instacart order yesterday, and it was a daughter ordering for her older dad that couldn't shop for himself. I do the order, I'm going the extra mile for this customer, like I always do, but for whatever reason this time I was going even farther and checking the back and everything. And I take the order, go to drop it off, and she's like, just go ahead and put it on the porch and he'll get it. I was like, all right, cool, that's what I normally do. I get there and something was telling me, no, you gotta help this man out. And he came out and I was like, okay, well, let me help you. And I got the groceries, and you're not supposed to go inside someone's house, but I used my judgment and I brought the groceries inside and put them down wherever he wanted me to put them. You're not supposed to, but I did. And you're just supposed to take a picture and leave. And I could not just leave. I go to message the lady because I was very concerned for her dad, that he just looked sick and I didn't know what to do. So I messaged her and I said, if I say that the order is complete, I won't be able to message you, and I want to tell you this. And I said, it's very unprofessional of me to say something, and I wasn't going to. I never talk. I always just put the groceries down and leave. This time, for whatever in my head was like, you gotta say something. You gotta say something, Jess. So I said, he's not doing good. He's sick. There's a propane tank in there. I was in there maybe 5 feet and I got dizzy. And I said, there's gotta be a leak. And I was like, he might not be doing good because of this leak. And I just didn't know what else to say. And she was like, all right, I'll have my son come out. She changed her tip from $14 to $100, which I'm grateful for, but I'm crying because of what she commented this morning. And I'll show you. Commented, thank you so much. Once my son went to check on my dad, it turned out it definitely was leaking. You definitely saved my dad and my younger son's life. So that being said, I'm just an Instacart worker, but if you see something, say something, and I did, and I'm so happy I did, and I'm so happy that he can live a better life.
Now, a whole lot of people will make fun of her for crying and being all upset, and she did the right thing. Unfortunately, when you do the right thing, very often there's a backlash. People get fired, whatever. But she saved a man's life and the son, and they were grateful for it. This is when you have an instinct, if you're in touch with your instinctual process. Yeah. And a whole lot aren't. You know, instinct tells us what is right very often. So, get in touch with it. You could save a life. Okay, go back to sleep, or we'll put you to sleep. This is Awaken with JP. Any of you don't know who he is, I'm putting the link in the chat, and you can check him out. But here we go.
Breaking news! This will be exciting. We're interrupting your regularly scheduled mindless scrolling of what the algorithm is showing you to bring you breaking news. This just in! The algorithm is AI controlling what you think by controlling what you see, which is good for us. I mean, good for you. Our emergency breaking news is that contrary to reports you may have seen about our country or misinformation you've observed with your own eyes and ears, we've got America in great shape, doing better than ever. In this breaking news coverage, we'll give you 4 irrefutable stories that show we're doing better than ever and prove you need to do nothing but sit back and continue allowing us to do what we're doing. Story number 1. Immigrants who entered our country through the due process of illegally crossing the border that's being held open like a hotel entrance by a bellman beat the hell out of police officers in New York. They invaded our country illegally, and weirdly enough, the free housing and food they got was not enough to deter them. Then they beat up police officers in New York City, but then they were taught a lesson by being released from jail without bail. And here you can see them flipping off the cameras, which is a great reflection of what they're doing to our country. And this broadcasts a beautifully powerful message. Dear world, this is what we'll let you do to us. Meanwhile, Jacob Chansley said a peaceful prayer to God in the U.S. Senate. He got 41 months in federal prison, with over 300 days in solitary confinement. Degenerate Aiden Mays films hardcore gay porn in the U.S. Senate, posts it publicly, and he had to face the charges of absolutely nothing. I just picked this up yesterday. Pretty good, huh? It's a replica of Fauci's face. It's pretty good. Story number 2. White House cybersecurity official Charlie Krager tells an undercover James O'Keefe that the White House wants to replace Kamala Harris, and he confirms Joe Biden's mental decline. We can confirm that Charlie Krager, a guy who's dumb enough to share the White House's devious secrets with James O'Keefe, the most recognizable undercover reporter in U.S. history, is definitely smart enough to work at the White House. And we can also confirm that Charlie Krager's insider information that Biden is in mental decline is completely false. Just take a look at Biden performing on the job, speaking to the parents of a U.S. soldier who was killed in Syria last weekend, telling them that his son Bo died in Iraq.
My son's been a year in Iraq, so I lost him.
His son Bo died in a U.S. hospital 5 years after returning from Iraq. Story number 3. In a recent study, transgender patients were shown to have personality disorders 81.4% of the time. The most common of which was shockingly narcissistic personality disorder, clocking in at 57.1% of the time. That can't be right. You better base your reality on my imagination. Doesn't sound narcissistic. So we need to keep banding together as a nation of inclusivity and continue affirming mental illness rather than treating it. That'll probably give our future generations that we want you to kill before they're even born the best chance at living a great life. And finally, Facebook beta male executive officer Mark Zuckerberg appears before Congress. Facebook, one of the reliable arbiters of truth that fact checks you, censors you, and keeps you from seeing information they deem not in your best interest, should be fully trusted to outsource your truth to, because they're just following our commands. Accordingly, while busy shutting you down from saying things, they've oddly allowed a lot of child exploitation to happen on their platform, which again is a platform you should fully trust. So while testifying to congressional questioning, at the urging of Congressman Josh Hawley, Zuckerberg stood up and apologized to the families that have been impacted by Meta's censor everything but child exploitation policies. Take a look.
So you didn't take any action. You didn't take any action. You didn't fire anybody. You haven't compensated a single victim. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now? Well, they're here. You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
That seemed very heartfelt and sincere. I declare amnesty. That's it for today's breaking news.
Some have said, I appreciate the lighter side of things. I appreciate you putting in something maybe funny. So, how about this? I think this kid is great. Well, that took a turn.
My parents
14 years old.
are pretty old. They're in their 40s now. Yeah, they're always telling me how easy I have it. They're like, oh, your generation's great. You don't know how hard it was to be a kid when we were kids. Why can't you be more like we were? Maybe because most of the crap you did when you were kids is illegal now. I cannot walk to 7-Eleven and buy my grandparents cigarettes. I am not allowed to hitchhike. I can't drink from a garden hose. I can't play with lawn darts, which were banned in 1988. I have my own set of challenges. When I ride my bike, I have to wear half a bowling ball on my head, because safety's a thing now. I didn't have an iPhone my whole life, you know. For many years, I had to use a flip phone. You had to press a button 3 times to type the letter C.
That's why I don't text.
Just sip of my water. When my parents were kids, when they left the house, it was just, all right, see ya, be back by dark, don't get abducted, molested, or eaten, and have fun. But if I want to go anywhere, I have to carry a whistle and a binder of all nearby registered sex offenders. And it's really thick, lots of gym teachers and priests. I'm kidding. Guys, that was just a joke. The priests aren't registered. Just relocated.
He's good. He's good. Oh, I'm gonna put the link into this video right here. It is. I love people who really take care of the four-leggeds. I love them. Well, I don't know them, but you know what I mean. Thank you, all of you, who treat them well, who take care of them, who provide for them, provide their safety, provide food. Yeah, we need more and more and more of them, because there's too many out there that don't. It's cold. Man, he reminds me of Buster. Alright, this is 13 minutes, but you'll see all of what this person has done outdoors for the stray cats, making sure that they're warm and taken care of. And they have their little straw beds. And why isn't this just moving along? Okay, good. All right, come on. Beds everywhere. Also in the backyard, little homes for them. It's yeah. Yeah. See? Little homes. Alright, you can check out the video. We do need more people who treat the four-leggeds well. Oh, it's very upsetting for people who feel for the four-leggeds that aren't. Ukraine drone reaches deep into Russian territory, damaging one of its largest refineries. And the beat goes on. The war beat. The war beat in Israel. This is only 1 minute and 40 seconds. No, the war did not start October 7th. And I clearly
this organization is
don't know how to start a video.
إن هذه بنتنا ورزان مثابة كانت بنتي الكبيرة أول فرحتي يعني أول شابة مسعفة ميدانية متطوعة كانت هي أول شابة كشابة يعني كفتاة تنزل على المخيمات العودة والكل شيء بادر فيها وشارك فيها. أنا كمان شاركت كل البيت شارك زوجي وأولادي وجيراني وإخواني كل العالم يعني كل الفلسطينيين شاركوا. مش أكتر هي صح رايحة وبعدين مسيرتنا مسيرة سلمية ما إحنا حاملين سلاح ولا إشي بالعكس إحنا بصدورنا العارية أمام قوة كبيرة من الجيش اللي هي مدرعاتهم وأسلحتهم وغازهم وطائراتهم. إحنا مسيرتنا سلمية بنطالب بحقنا من حقي كل أنا إلي بلد من حقي كل بيت من حق اللي متشردين في البلاد في كل مكان هذول النازعين يجوا على بيوتهم. ما آن الأوان ما كلهم قاعدين في العالم كله قاعدين وبتفرجوا علينا كل واحد مرتاح. إحنا عنا حصار لا معابر شغالة ولا دنيا وين بدهم يروحوا؟
I have to thank Israel. I'm serious. Before you get mad at me, you all need to thank Israel. Thank you, Israel. Not for killing over 4,000 Palestinian children in the last month. Not for indiscriminately bombing Gaza, and not even for subjecting Palestinians to more than 75 years of violence.
Just want to say, this was a while ago. It's not 4,000 children. I believe it's over 14,000 now.
But thank you for opening our eyes. I've always been pro-Palestine. My parents taught me to stand for what's right, but I got caught up in life and forgot what really matters. So, thank you for reminding the world that every life is sacred, that in 2023 there is no space for settler colonialism. Thank you for showing the world that you openly, proudly, and consistently commit crimes against humanity and are happy subjecting the Palestinian people you haven't already killed or forced to flee to inhumane conditions. Because of you, the world is changing. The tables are turning and the side of Palestine and humanity is stronger than ever. Free Palestine.
Tables might be turning, but a whole lot more are dying on a daily basis. Okay, President Putin, here we go. The Gaza Strip is now the largest children's cemetery in the world.
Вернемся, я так понимаю, еще к ситуации, связанной с украинским кризисом. Но и вы, и все здесь присутствующие, и во всем мире видят. Посмотрите на специальную военную операцию и то, что в Газе происходит. И почувствуйте разницу. Но ничего подобного на Украине нет. Значит, вы упомянули о гибели тысяч детей.
He's comparing Ukraine and Gaza and says that nothing that is going on in Ukraine or Russia compares to what is happening in Gaza and the West Bank.
Детей, женщин. Ну, генеральный секретарь организации.
Oh, the UN Secretary General has called today's Gaza Strip the largest children's cemetery in the world.
Объединенных Наций назвал сегодняшний сектор Газа самым большим кладбищем детей в мире. Но это такая оценка.
This assessment says a lot. Now, I have said, and I'll repeat, Putin is a player in the New World Order. But what he is saying is also important. What is happening is horrifying. We're going to go to the migrant situation. I'm only going to play a few minutes of Chris Martenson right here explaining the difference between migrant and immigrant, and what's happening today did not happen yesterday.
The migrant crisis in the United States has finally reached a boiling point. Here's a few things you really need to know. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Chris Martenson here with another special report for you. Today, we're going to be making sense of the migration crisis or the migrant crisis. Now, let's start here. Amy Pope of the IOM, that's a UN agency, recently tweeted out on January 19th. She said, thanks to SRF and Sina Freiermuth for a great interview on state of the migration today across Europe. This was at the Davos conference. And she said, how migrants are a force for good, fueling economic growth and driving prosperity. Europe needs migrants, and migrants need regular and safe pathways so they can work. Now, here's one of the tricks that we have to be familiar with. One of the tricks deployed by the Build Back Better WEF progressive crowd is they like to tear down our statues. They like to eliminate our mooring in history doing that. And they like to blur and sometimes even entirely change the meaning of words. In this case, because there is a deliberate effort to make them interchangeable, we have to carefully reclaim the distinction between immigration and migration. This is something everybody should be familiar with. And once we do that, we next have to be sure we have the same definition of invasion. Okay, so what do I mean? This is immigration. Take a look at this, all right? That's immigration. I don't know, 40 boxes on there. This takes 3, 5, 7 years. There's forms at every step of this process. This is immigration. Immigration is what happens when a nation decides that they want more people to come in. It's no different than what you would do as a landlord who's going to rent one of your houses. It's your asset. It's your possession. It's a dwelling. You want to make sure that the people you're bringing in, of course, you would vet them to make sure they had a job, maybe do a background check, maybe a criminal check, call some references. You would do things. Same thing if you're hiring somebody into your company. Of course, you would vet them. Immigration is a vetting process. Migration is an uncontrolled process where just anybody who can get on a boat, cross a border, hop on a train, somehow scoot across a boundary that doesn't really exist, that's migration. Totally different. Immigration is not the same thing as migration. So this is important. Now, migration, we think about, birds migrate, all that. But what part of the definition for migration is movement from one part of something to another. So it could be the seasonal movement of animals, but it's basically a big group of animals, in this case humans, going from one area to another. And they go, why are these birds migrating? Well, because they're going to their nesting grounds. Why are they going there? Well, because there's more food there. There's resources. Animals migrate because of resource issues. They have to get to water. They want to get to more food. People are migrating now because they're going from a place where they don't like their opportunities to a place of higher opportunity. I have no problem with that. If it's immigration we're talking about. My grandparents immigrated into this country of the United States coming through Ellis Island. Total fan of immigration. I think it's awesome. You can bring in the people you need for the projects you need and for the future you want your country to have. It's a good process. Migration, totally different prospect. All right. So if we look at this, that's immigration over there on that side, and that's migration. Okay. Now, what's interesting is Governor Abbott of Texas just very recently, this was just yesterday, came out and actually invoked self-defense, invoking parts of the Constitution, citing invasion. He wrote here, quote, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left to the mercy of a lawless president.
And that is what we have had and still have. Lawless presidents. The executive order. Oh, I'll just bypass that power of Congress to write legislation, and I'll do it myself. Presidents have been doing that for many, many decades. Violating the Constitution, violating international law, violating law, rule of law, and subjecting American citizens to a slavery that has only gotten tighter and tighter and tighter around an awful lot of people. But he also talks about his experience going down to the Darien Gap, and lo and behold, he says, wow, in the Darien Gap, they have signs in Chinese. Oh, it is so purposeful, intentional, deliberate, brought in, bring them on in, and destroy those Western countries. And crossing the Darien Gap, again, we've got a bridge going up the Darien Gap to make the migration easier. They're building a bridge to make it more smooth and faster. And here, this guy from Iran, okay? Oh, we're in big, big trouble. TikTok vents about inflation and migrants in New York.
Capitalism doesn't work that way, I'm sorry.
What do you think about the U.S. government putting all the illegal immigrants here in this hotel?
How you can put the illegal immigrants in a hotel? That's it.
So what do you think it's right what's going on?
No, it's not right. We all came at a certain time. I mean, somebody...
Something to think about,
Hey, what's going on with YouTube? Why? Where did... What? That just jumped ahead. I didn't do anything. Here.
Fair, right?
Do we know who they are?
No.
How they're coming in? I mean, we know how they're coming in.
Yeah.
But do we know who are exactly? What they have a background, criminal records?
Exactly.
What kind of diseases they have?
I just said that.
Okay, I'm going to link below to this video. Well, we found out who some of them are. Another gang. We've got MS-13 all over the country. We've got the cartel operating all over the country. And a Venezuelan prison gang now in America. And they've killed for the first time. Bloodthirsty, sex trafficking, Venezuelan prison gang. So, I have said, others have said, Venezuela is opening up the prison and allowing these criminals to come across the border. Yay! 4 more years. Oh, wow. So, why national security experts say this is a catastrophic result of Biden's broken borders. Jose Luis Sanchez Valera, 43-year-old retired Venezuelan police officer, was lured to a hotel by 2 women, then robbed and murdered on November 28. The killers tortured Sanchez to hand over his apartment keys. They raided the property. They told his niece, with whom he lived, They were Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is one of the most feared gangs in Latin America. It was born in Venezuela around 2012, and the Miami murder is the first by the gang in the US of A. The target of a deadly honey trap, the murder victim, the undeniable spread of ultra-violent gangs from the ruins of Venezuela's socialist dystopia to U.S. cities. Oh, we allowed so many Venezuelans, and for some reason, Venezuelans over other groups, others that came from other countries, Venezuelans were given work permits. I guess this is how they work. Not all, but we've got a problem. Okay? You know that, right? We've got a major problem. In September alone, an estimated 50,000 Venezuelans were stopped crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. The vast majority of them, single adults. Venezuelans surpassed Mexicans to become the number one nationality caught illegally entering the U.S. U.S. Border Patrol agents are particularly on the lookout for members of Tren de Aragua. The group is less well known than the Mexican cartels or MS-13, which was born in a Los Angeles prison in the 1980s among migrants from El Salvador. Tren de Aragua is no less violent, perhaps even more so. They are the fastest growing transnational criminal organization in the world. Just 5 years ago, they operated in 1 or 2 countries. Now they operate in 10, including the United States. Venezuelan authorities, under the direction of Maduro, raided Tocoron Penitentiary, the gang's de facto headquarters. Inside the walls of this penitentiary, Tren de Aragua had built a zoo complete with ocelots. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation. I don't even know what they are. Okay. Lions, crocodiles, a swimming pool, a children's playground, a baseball stadium with stands, restaurants, and a nightclub. Okay. In the prison, Maduro deployed 11,000 soldiers backed by armed vehicles to restore order. It's a nice prison. Venezuelan troops seized buckets of ammunition, racks of assault rifles from what was in effect a fortress, recruiting ground, barracks, and cash cow, where inmates were forced to pay levies to Tren. Though, according to some, the raid was a sham. It was nothing more than an organized surrender of Tren de Aragua to Maduro's regime. The operation released an estimated 1,000 gang members, as well as their infamous leader, Hector Guerrero Flores. His whereabouts remain unknown, though Interpol has warned that he may have tried to flee to the United States, blending in with more than 3.8 million migrants who have entered the country. No, that number is very low. Daily Mail. What is not in question is whether other members of Tren de Aragua have infiltrated America. Police authorities in Chicago, New York, Miami have already discovered elements of Tren de Aragua in their cities. And I can't read. I'll put the link in if you want to read the gory details of what this gang does. But I can't do it again. That's for sure. As shocking as this savage murder seems, which was the one in Miami, it is mild compared to what the gang is capable of. The terrifying methods were adapted as the gang spread in Latin America, its tentacles reaching well into Colombia, Chile, Ecuador, Peru, and its interest extending into extortion and drug running, but they specialize in the most repulsive and detestable crimes, sex trafficking, human smuggling, as millions of desperately poor people streamed out of Venezuela in search of a better life. Tren de Aragua recognized that there were millions to be made exploiting their misery. The gang waged war with Colombia's terrorist National Liberation Army for control of the border, crossing near Cucuta, a rundown, dubious destination through which a steady stream of Venezuelan migrants pass. Those who refuse to pay the mobsters for their passage are shown no mercy. Bags of dismembered body parts and bodies have been found in Colombia and Chile, buried under cement. Yeah. Open borders. No problem. No problem. Single cell of human traffickers can earn up to $150 million a year. The reality of America's porous border is that law enforcement has little ability to separate the criminal element from the larger population. That puts all citizens and immigrants at risk. Hello? Migrants pay Tren to smuggle them into the United States and then become beholden to the gang even after they settle. The potential introduction of Tren de Aragua to the U.S. prison system threatens to supercharge their growing criminal threat. MS-13 was born in a Los Angeles prison and is now a transnational criminal organization that is still directed from behind bars. Tren was born in Venezuelan prisons, and they know how penal networks operate clearly when they can build pools and zoos and restaurants, nightclubs. They may become an intractable, I think they're intractable already, intractable problem, not just here in America, but throughout the Western Hemisphere. Only the beginning of a new wave of horrors unleashed by America's broken immigration system. It's broken? No. We just got treason happening. We got treason. A whole lot. President, congressional representatives, local, state governments allowing this treason and allowing gangs to come in and setting innocent Americans who are actually citizens up for an awful lot of violence. They're in Chicago. They're in an awful lot of the cities, for sure. Migrants reportedly discovered in hidden room in airport, and this was the video that I showed you of the senator, the state senator in Georgia, that literally they've got military guards protecting these migrants, and a Georgia state senator went down and was told to leave.
After the video this week showing migrants sleeping in the Boston's Logan Airport, one Georgia state senator captures new video showing migrants inside a hidden room at the Atlanta airport. Watch.
Yeah. Transporting anybody anywhere?
Yeah, we're all getting them flights to where they need to be. Yeah, so these are just recently documented travelers getting released from ICE, getting to where they need to be.
Just let me Let me get a video if you don't mind.
Actually, you cannot get a video.
No.
You cannot get a video.
No, you're not allowed.
You're not allowed. You're done.
Did you hear that? Documented travelers joining us right now, Georgia State Senator Colton Moore. So I'm confused because I'm going to read this statement later on in the segment. But the person that you were speaking to said that they were documented, and we know that they were illegal, right?
Yeah, we got a whistleblower who gave us a tip about this hidden room, and I had a full team there with some different cameras in different places. Said on Monday and Tuesday nights, there's just an influx of these people who come through the airport, kind of when the traffic is much lower at the airport. They were in a hidden room. I was talking to an Atlanta Police Department investigator yesterday. There are absolutely no cameras in this area of the airport. If you watch another part of the video, you'll see that there's some barricades and some caution tape before you get there. It kind of looks like a construction zone, if you will.
So can you explain to me, because, airport's supposed to be one of the most secure locations. There's cameras everywhere. Is this inside of the terminals or outside of the terminals?
This is, I believe it's technically the third floor, but it appears as if it's the second floor in the domestic terminal. Our whistleblower says they walk right out of the gates and then they're escorted into this room. Those people in that room, though, they were waiting to be booked to flights all across the United States. We were also getting video of migrants who were just walking out onto the streets of Atlanta.
And who's guarding the door?
So there was a U.S. Army soldier there at the door, the guy who says, "You're done." He is a United States soldier. We still not sure exactly what his role was there, but he was sitting right next to the door and basically assaulted me in order to take the phone and try, to get rid of the footage. I was able to recover the phone, and that's the footage you see there.
This is...
So do you think something is happening in America that shouldn't be happening? U.S. Army protecting the migrants and assaults a state senator. It's not good. It ain't good. So, and here, Sheriff Daniels says Biden has not met with a single sheriff during his time as president. They say they have begged him for meetings. There has been some communication with the White House, but no meeting with Biden. And this sheriff who's speaking is from St. Charles Parish, Louisiana.
Staff met with us, and they presented this problem as a great historical event that we are fortunate to be able to witness this wonderful migration, as if it was one of the 8 wonders of the world now. And we're fortunate to be living in such a time that we're seeing this great migration. And we tried to tell them it's nothing but a criminal enterprise that is jeopardizing the security of this country. Breath now, using a
great migration, but what this sheriff says is it's nothing but a criminal enterprise. What do criminal enterprises do? They commit crime. Witnesses state a group was working in concert and were pickpocketing at a location in Midtown. So a lot of pickpocketing going on with these illegal migrants. What the hell are we doing here? Man, but look at the Chinese nationals. So, they have in the Darien Gap Chinese messaging for those coming through the Darien Gap. Really? Oh, so this seems very organized, doesn't it? And this is only one group. Just one group. And boy, men, military-aged men, Okay. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but sometimes you just hope that there's some life out there that you might, be able to revive or something. Taxpayer-supported migrants who moved to New York City have caused a surge in crimes. In the past year alone, there was more than 1,200 arrests for crimes including endangering children, assaults, grand larcenies, and robberies. It's only 18 seconds. Let's hear it again.
Arrest records show residents living at 30 of the city's 200 migrant shelters have been arrested more than 1,200 times in the last year. City records show the top crimes include petty larceny, assault, grand larceny, endangering the welfare of a child, and robbery.
Let them in. Support them financially. Give them housing. Give them everything. And I've not verified this, but wow, Americans have no idea how bad things really are. Oh, some of us really do. But let's just listen. I'm not going to, say that this man is lying, but would it surprise you if what you hear is actually true?
So I just had a conversation with a Denver police officer at the airport, and we were talking about the crime that's going on, not only in Denver, but our country. And he says, the media will not tell you this. I'm not even supposed to talk about this, but I don't care anymore. We've arrested, the Denver police in Denver has arrested over 50 Al-Qaeda members in the last 2 months. 50. Okay, so with that said, we started talking about everything else. And we started talking about where the budget's going and how they don't have enough police cars. They're going to be putting them on foot. We started talking about all the migrants that have been coming over the border and how they're cutting the police budget in all major cities, including Denver. And then we started talking about how there's sleeper cells all over Colorado. He's talking about South Americans. He's talking about people from Central America. He's talking about people from China. He's talking about people from the Middle East, all over. And he says the police know this, the state police and the local police, and they're not allowed to do a damn thing about it. So y'all, here's my question for you, especially for those of you that are left-leaning. Do you still think that it's okay to have open fucking borders?
I mean, this now has become so obvious, so flippin' obvious, and that Americans are just sleepwalking through their life. Wow. Damn, it was easy to take over this country, wasn't it? When you have a self-centered people who really only care about themselves. The majority. I don't know you. It's so easy. Soften them up. And continue to lie to them no matter how obvious it becomes. Just they accept the lies because it's easier. The truth is demanding. Lies, tell me more. Sweet little lies. I just have to listen to him. Yeah, well, that's too bad. Moron. Not moron. More on what's happening in Israel. And you can go to my Twitter page. It's really... It's not okay what's happening. It is so not okay what's happening. And you would love to be in a community, then expand that community out to other communities where the energy is really good, right? Where you have the energy of care, of concern, of people wanting the truth. That's a whole other kind of energy than what we have got going. And unfortunately, the energy that we've got going is piss poor. And it's affecting all of us. I feel it. My circumstance is different than an awful lot of people. But I've spoken to an awful lot of subscribers who don't have anyone in their community. They have a stable life. They're still in their homes. They're in their communities. They go to work. And they have no one to talk to about the very serious things happening in our country. So that tells us that we do have a majority of people who lack care. And, well, if you lack the courage and you remain silent, your care, you haven't developed it to a point of generative care. So it all comes down to caring. And when you don't care, you are a danger to everyone. You become a danger to everyone. Yeah. So, on that note, I'm going to close a little early. I do hope that you're all okay. I hope that you all stay safe. We still have day and night coming through California, coming through Arizona. They're still coming through Texas, but not as it was. Do your best in your community. Bring your best to your communities. Help those in need. And every one of you have people in need in your communities. You've got dogs in need. You got cats in need. You got a whole lot of people who are in need. Those who care for the cats and dogs, help them out at the shelters. Just live honestly and speak honestly, and that is how we reestablish trust. Do that work on yourself. Face yourself in the mirror. That's the truth. It's your truth inside of you that sets you free. The truth outside of us, this collective truth that we're all talking about, that doesn't set you free. Get in touch with your own truth. That sets you free. That develops that generative care that we need. The individual's truth and the collective truth go together. So, thank you for showing up. I hope to see you tomorrow night, and good night, good luck. Ciao, guys.